Imagine you have a gift so immense, it feels like a curse. In the sun-drenched island of Crete, the brilliant inventor Daedalus creates wonders for a powerful king, but his genius becomes his golden cage. Can a mind that builds labyrinths design its own escape? Hit like if you're ready to take flight, and comment with what you would invent if you had Daedalus's skill. You find yourself standing in the dusty, sunlit haze of a master's workshop. The air smells of shaved wood, hot metal, and the salty breeze drifting in from the Aegean Sea. This is the domain of the guy who basically invented the idea of an inventor. We're talking about the man credited with creating things like the axe, the wedge, and the saw. Before him, if you wanted to build something, your options were pretty much just rocks and frustration. Daedalus is the original tech genius, the Da Vinci of his day, a mind so bright it practically hums with energy. You can almost feel the gears turning in his head as he moves, his hands stained with grease and inspiration, never truly still. But there's a shadow that follows this brilliance, a little footnote in his origin story that most people skip over. Before he came to Crete to work for the formidable King Minos, Daedalus was the star artisan in his hometown of Athens. He even had an apprentice, his own nephew, a boy named Perdix. The problem was, Perdix was also a genius. One day, inspired by the spine of a fish, the kid invented the saw. Daedalus, seeing his own legacy potentially overshadowed, was overcome by a moment of ugly, human jealousy. He brought the boy to the top of the Acropolis and pushed him, a dark secret for such a celebrated man. Luckily for the boy, the goddess Athena, a patron of clever people, caught him as he fell and transformed him into a partridge, forever destined to fly low, mindful of its great fall. So, when you picture Daedalus, don't just see a kindly old craftsman, see a man who knows just how sharp the edge of ambition can be. Now, he's here in Crete, serving King Minos is a powerful, imposing figure, a son of Zeus himself, and he doesn't take no for an answer. He saw Daedalus's talent and knew he had to have it, making him an offer he couldn't refuse. Part guest, part prisoner. It's a complicated relationship, a gilded cage with an open but heavily guarded door. Scholars still argue whether Minos' control over Daedalus was born of admiration or pure, calculating strategy, a king hoarding his greatest asset. For now, Daedalus builds. He creates dancing statues for the princesses and marvels of engineering for the court. He's the ultimate royal contractor, but every project, every masterpiece, just sinks the bars of his cage a little deeper into the Cretan soil. He's respected, admired, but he is not free. And for a mind that soars like his, that's the most unbearable prison of all. So, you're in this workshop, surrounded by genius, but there is a project Daedalus has been tasked with that's different from all the others. It's not a delightful, dancing statue or a clever new tool. It's a secret, a dark and sprawling commission born from royal shame. You see, King Minos, for all his power, made a classic mythological blunder. He ticked off a god. He prayed to Poseidon for a sign of divine favor, a magnificent white bull to emerge from the sea, which Minos promised to sacrifice in the god's honor. Poseidon delivered, sending a bull so stunningly beautiful that Minos got greedy and decided to keep it, sacrificing a lesser bull from his own herd instead. Pro tip: never try to pull a bait and switch on the god of the sea. Poseidon's revenge was poetic and deeply, deeply weird. He didn't strike Minos down with a trident. Instead, he cursed Manis's wife, Queen Pasiphae, to fall passionately in love with the very bull her husband failed to sacrifice. And this is where Daedalus gets dragged into the royal family-esque drama with what is possibly the weirdest, most uncomfortable HR request in history. The queen, consumed by this unnatural desire, came to him, the master craftsman, and asked him to build a hollow wooden cow, so realistic that the white bull would be interested. And Daedalus, trapped in his role as the royal problem solver, did it. He built the cow Pasiphae, climbed inside, and nature took its bizarre divine accursed course. The result of this union was a creature with the body of a man and the head and tail of a bull, or walking, breathing, testament to the king's arrogance and the queen's cursed passion. It was a royal nightmare, a monster in the palace, the world's most terrifying case of I told you so. What do you do with a family secret that has hooves and horns, and a taste for human flesh? You call Daedalus again. King Minos, desperate to hide this monstrosity, gives his prized inventor a new, chilling task: build a prison from which nothing can escape. Not the beast, and not the knowledge of how to navigate its passages. This becomes Daedalus's magnum opus of confinement, The labyrinth. You have to imagine him at the drawing board, his mind, which once crafted toys and tools for progress, now bending itself into knots. He designs a maze of such bewildering complexity that it's a paradox in stone. Corridors that turn back on themselves, endless identical hallways, staircases that lead nowhere. It's a place designed to psychologically dismantle you, to strip you of your sense of direction until you are utterly, hopelessly lost. Scholars still argue whether the labyrinth was a literal, standalone structure, or if the name refers to the sprawling, confusing layout of the palace of Gnosis itself. The very name, labyrinthos, may be connected to the labyrinth, the double-headed axe, which was a sacred symbol in Crete, suggesting the entire royal complex was the maze. Daedalus pours all his genius into this project, and in doing so, he creates the perfect prison. Not exactly something you put at the top of your portfolio. And as the final stone is laid, he realizes the terrible irony. He, the creator, is the only one who truly understands its intricate secret, and that knowledge has just made him the one person King Minos can never, ever let go. The last stone of the labyrinth is said, the monster is contained, and a heavy silence falls over Crete. You can feel the shift in the air. The respect Daedalus once commanded from King Minos has curdled into something colder, more possessive. The inventor is no longer just a prized asset, he is a liability. He knows too much. He is the living blueprint to the king's deepest, darkest secret. And alongside him in this gilded cage is his son, Icarus. Icarus has grown up here, a boy who knows only the Cretan sun and the shadow of his father's complicated genius. He's a teenager now, full of that restless energy, blissfully unaware of the dark Athenian secret that brought his father here, or the full, monstrous truth of the labyrinth's purpose. He just knows the king who was once his father's patron now feels like their jailer. The situation goes from bad to worse with the arrival of the Athenian hero Theseus. You might remember him from his own set of heroic deeds. He arrives as part of a tribute, a human sacrifice to be fed to the but Minos's own daughter Ariadne falls in love with him at first sight. She can't bear the thought of him being eaten, so who does she go to for help? The one man who can solve impossible problems. And Daedalus, perhaps feeling a pang of sympathy for the young lovers, or maybe just a bit of Athenian pride, agrees to help. He gives Ariadne the secret to the labyrinth's navigation. In some versions, it's a simple instruction to keep your right hand on the wall. In the most famous telling, he gives her a ball of string, a simple, elegant solution to an infinitely complex problem. Theseus enters, slays the beast, follows the thread back out, and escapes Crete with Ariadne. When King Minos discovers this betrayal, his rage is absolute. Daedalus hasn't just undermined his authority, he's dismantled his greatest secret and enabled the escape of his mortal enemy. The gilded cage is gone, replaced with a very real one. Scholars still argue whether Daedalus and Icarus were imprisoned within the labyrinth itself, a truly ironic punishment, or locked away in a high, isolated tower overlooking the sea. Either way, they were well and truly trapped. Imagine the despair. Daedalus, the man of infinite options, is left with none. Every ship that leaves the harbor is searched. Every road is watched. Minos has put the entire island on lockdown. Trying to leave Crete would be like trying to sneak out of a maximum security prison where the warden is a demigod with a serious grudge. Day after day Daedalus paces the floor of his prison, the gears of his mind grinding, searching for a solution. Icarus, bored and restless, passes the time by watching the seagulls and gulls that swoop and glide on the ocean wind. He points them out to his father, envying their effortless freedom, and that's when it hits deep. The spark in the darkness. He watches the birds not with the idle gaze of a boy, but with the sharp, analytical eye of an engineer. He sees the curve of their wings, the way they catch the currents, the intricate machinery of feather and bone. He stops pacing, and a slow, audacious smile spreads across his face. He turns to his son, his eyes gleaming with a manic, brilliant light. Minos may control the land and the sea, he declares, but he does not control the air. The escape route wasn't going to be across the water, it was going to be above it. The plan is set, a single, brilliant spark against an ocean of impossibility, and now, the work begins. You're there, in that high tower, or perhaps a secluded workshop, and the energy is completely changed. The air of despair is gone, replaced by the quiet, focused hum of creation. Daedalus is in his element, his eyes scanning every corner of their prison not as a cage, but as a collection of raw materials. He directs Icarus with a newfound purpose. Every fallen feather from a passing seabird is now a treasure. Every scrap of wood, every piece of thread from their tunics, every drop of wax from the candles they're given for lighted or repurposed. Their prison is about to become their launch. The first step is gathering the feathers. This becomes a game for Icarus, who is thrilled to finally have a project, a purpose beyond just staring at the sea. He scrambles to snatch up the soft down and sturdy quills left by gulls and cormorants that perch on their window ledge. He sorts them by size into neat piles, marveling at the iridescence of a raven's feather here, the pure white of a dove's there. Daedalus, meanwhile, is the master architect. He sketches designs in the dust on the floor, calculating arcs and lift, his mind a whirlwind of physics that haven't even been discovered yet. He takes the larger feathers, the primary flight feathers, and begins to lay them out, stitching them together at their base with linen thread. He's painstakingly unraveled from their own clothes. It's a tedious, delicate process, each stitch a prayer. Next comes the frame. Daedalus fashions a light but strong framework, perhaps from reeds gathered near a spring or from the very wood of their spare prison-issue furniture, carefully broken down and reshaped. He bends the pieces, lashing them together into the skeletal shape of a great bird's wing. You watch as he holds it up, testing its weight and balance, his brow furrowed in concentration. Then comes the most crucial element, the wax. He gathers all the beeswax he can find, melting it over a small, carefully shielded flame. The smell, sweet and earthy, fills the small room. He instructs Icarus to help him to dip the smaller, softer feathers into the warm, pliable wax and set them in place, filling the gaps in a larger, stitched feathers, creating a smooth, airtight surface. This is where you see the difference between the father and the son. For Daedalus, every movement is precise, laden with the weight of their survival. For Icarus, it's a wonder. He laughs as a feather gets stuck to his finger, playfully trying to balance it on his nose, not fully grasping that this is their only way out. He sees two pairs of beautiful, giant wings, taking shape, an incredible new toy his father is making. He doesn't see the fragility. He doesn't understand that the same sun that warms his face could be their undoing. In some obscure local variants of the tale, it's whispered that Daedalus wasn't just inspired by birds, but also by the triangular sails of certain swift ships, blending his knowledge of the sea with his ambition for the sky. He was creating a hybrid marvel of engineering. Scholars still argue whether the use of wax was purely functional or intended as a symbolic choice by the storytellers, representing the ephemeral, easily melted nature of human achievement, when it strays too far from the mortal world. Finally, after weeks of relentless, secret work, they are finished. Two pairs of wings lie before you, magnificent and terrifying, the feathers shimmering in the dim light. They are a testament to genius, a monument to hope, and a fragile gamble against the gods. The wings are done. They lean against the stone wall of your shared prison, casting long, feathery shadows in the pre-dawn light. The air is thick with anticipation. For Icarus, it's the electric thrill of a dare, the final moments before the greatest adventure of his life. For Daedalus, the silence is heavy, echoing with the weight of his gamble. He watches his son, who is practically vibrating with excitement, unable to sit still, his eyes fixed on the sliver of graying sky visible through the window. Daedalus feels a tremor in his hands, a fear colder than any he felt while designing the labyrinth. This isn't about stone in corridors. This is about flesh and bone. His flesh and bone. He can't help but remember another boy, Perdix, on another high place. This time, he thinks, it must be different. He calls Icarus over. It's time. With hands that feel clumsy and slow, Daedalus takes the smaller pair of wings and begins to fit them to his son's shoulders. The leather straps feel stiff against the boy's skin. The scent of beeswax is strong, a sweet, fragile perfume of hope. Icarus is giddy, laughing as his father fusses with the buckles, shifting his weight from foot to foot. Will I really fly, father? Higher than the gulls? He asks, his voice full of pure, unadulterated joy. Daedalus doesn't answer right away. He feels a tear well in his eye and quickly blinks it away, pretending to be focused on a stubborn strap. He can't let his son see his fear. He has to be the confident master craftsman, not the terrified father. Once the wings are secure, Daedalus grips Icarus by the shoulders, forcing the boy to meet his gaze. His voice is low, intense, each word carefully chosen. Now, you listen to me, Icarus. This is not a game. He points a trembling finger towards the floor. Fly too low. and the damp breath of Thalassa, the sea itself, will cling to your feathers. They will grow heavy with her spray, and they will drag you down into the waves. Then he points upwards, towards the ceiling. But do not fly too high. Do you understand? Do not soar with ambition. He explains that up there, the sun god Helios begins his daily journey, driving a chariot of pure fire. His heat will be your enemy. Get too close, and the wax that holds these feathers, our very hope, will soften and melt. The middle path, Daedalus says, his grip tightening on his son's arms. You must take the middle path. Follow me. Do not fall behind, and do not race ahead. Keep your eyes on my back and follow my flight. Exactly. This is the only way. He is pleading now, trying to pour all of his wisdom, all of his caution, into his son's young heart. Icarus, still buzzing with the promise of flight, just nods eagerly. Yes, father, the middle path. Don't worry. But his eyes are already looking past his father, out the window, at the open sky. He hears the words, but he doesn't feel their weight. He's hearing the rules to a fantastic new game, not a life or death instruction manual. Scholars still argue whether Daedalus's warning was a practical lesson in primitive aeronautics or a deep philosophical lesson about the core Greek ideal of Medenega, nothing in excess. It's the ultimate caution against hubris, delivered from a father to a son. Daedalus then turns and fits his own, larger wings onto his back. He flexes them once, twice, the feathers rustling with a dry, whispery sound. He takes one last look at his son, a boy on the cusp of manhood, standing there looking like a fledgling angel, beautiful and terrifyingly fragile. They stand together at the edge of the tower window, the wind pulling at their clothes. There's nothing left to say. There is only the leap. They stand on the precipice, the world sprawling beneath them. The wind whips around you, a wild, untamed thing that promises either freedom or oblivion. Daedalus takes a deep breath, trying to steady his pounding heart. He looks at Icarus one last time, gives a sharp, decisive nod, and then he leaps. For a terrifying second, your stomach lurches with him. The stone of the tower rushes past, but then he finds the rhythm. He beats his great, feathered arms, once, twice, a clumsy, desperate motion. The wings catch the air, they find purchase on the invisible currents, and the terrifying fall curves into a graceful, swooping arc. He is flying. It's awkward at first, like a newborn foal trying to stand. But then muscle memory he doesn't even know. He has kicks in the memory of 1,000 birds he has watched from this very tower. He soars. Icarus, watching his father, doesn't hesitate. With a whoop of pure joy, he throws himself into the void. His smaller wings catch the wind instantly. He's a natural, lighter, more agile. He zips through the air with an effortlessness that his father, with his older, heavier bones, can only envy. The initial shock gives way to a feeling of utter, indescribable ecstasy. Imagine it. You are no longer bound by the solid earth. You can move in 3 dimensions. The sea isn't a barrier below you. It's a sparkling, sapphire carpet. The clouds aren't distant puffs of white. They are veils you can glide right through. Icarus laughs, the sound carried away by the wind. A peal of pure, unadulterated freedom. He swoops down towards his father, doing a playful roll, showing off. Daedalus keeps a steady, disciplined pace, his eyes constantly scanning the horizon, his ears attuned to the whistle of the wind through his feathers. He's not enjoying this. For him, this isn't about freedom. It's about crossing a chasm of danger. He signals to Icarus, a sharp gesture to stay close, to maintain formation. They fly on, leaving the island of Crete behind them, a green smudge on the blue canvas of the sea. They pass over other islands, Samos and Delos, their shores dotted with fishing boats. People on the ground look up, shielding their eyes. A fisherman drops his rod. The shepherd leans on his crook, both gaping in disbelief. They mistake the 2 figures for gods, perhaps Hermes with a new apprentice, or even Apollo himself gracing the sky. This is a moment of triumph, proof of Daedalus's unparalleled genius. He has defied a king, broken the laws of nature, and taken to the sky. This moment of divine mistaken identity is a common feature in Greek myths, a way of underscoring just how far a mortal has pushed the boundaries. Remember when Psyche was so beautiful, people started worshipping her instead of Aphrodite. It never ends well. For now, though, the flight is a success. Icarus, for his part, is having the time of his life. He dips and soars, chasing goals, pretending to be a great bird of prey. He feels the sun on his back, the wind rushing past his face. It is the most alive he has ever felt. The world is his playground. His father's warnings, the grim talk of melting wax and damp sea spray, feel like a distant, irrelevant lecture from another lifetime. Why would his father want to plod along in a straight line when you could dance with the clouds? He feels strong, powerful, invincible. The middle path feels so boring. Up, he thinks. I want to go up. Scholars still argue about the exact flight path they took, as ancient geography and mythic locations don't always align perfectly. But the emotional journey is crystal clear, from the depths of a prison to the heights of divine-like freedom. And it's that feeling, that intoxicating taste of power, that is about to change everything. The initial euphoria of escape begins to settle into a steady rhythm. Daedalus flies on, his form a dark, determined shape against the endless blue. His focus is absolute, his mind a calculator of wind speed, altitude, and distance. He is flying away from Crete, but also away from his past, from the ghost of his nephew, from the monstrous creation in the labyrinth. Each beat of his wings is a deliberate stroke, pulling them closer to safety, to a new life in Sicily where he hopes to find refuge. He glances back, checking on Icarus, expecting to see his son dutifully trailing behind him. But Icarus isn't there. Daedalus's heart seizes. He scans the sky around him, a knot of panic tightening in his chest. And then he sees him, far above. Icarus is no longer following. He has broken formation. He is soaring upwards, a small, exultant figure climbing higher and higher, drunk on the sheer, unadulterated thrill of it all. The boy is wrapped in a bubble of pure joy, feeling the power in his shoulders, the strength of the wings his father made. The world below has shrunk to a beautiful, insignificant map. The boats are tiny specks, the islands mere patterns on the water. He feels like a god. Why fly with the gulls when you can soar with the eagles? Why hug the coast when you can touch the heavens? His father's warnings are a faint, nagging whisper that is easily drowned out by the roar of the wind in his ears and the triumphant beat of his own heart. The middle path is for old men, for cautious men. It is for his father, who is always worried, always planning, always seeing the danger in things. Icarus feels no danger. He feels only power. This sensation, this overweening pride and self-confidence, is what the Greeks called hubris. It's the fatal flaw that appears in so many of their tragedies. From Oedipus thinking he can outwit the oracle to Arachne believing she could weave better than a goddess. Hubris is the intoxicating belief that you are the exception to the rule, that the laws of gods and mortals do not apply to you. And Icarus is drowning in it. You can almost feel the air thinning as he climbs, the blue of the sky deepening to indigo. The sun, Helios, is no longer a warm, friendly presence. It's becoming a palpable force, a blazing, white eye in the sky. Daedalus shouts his son's name, his voice snatched away by the wind, a desperate, unheard cry. Icarus, come back, too high. You are flying too high. But his words are just lost sounds in the vast, empty expanse. Icarus climbs on, driven by that fatal, youthful desire to see how far he can go, to push the limit, to taste the fire. In some less common retellings, it suggested that Icarus wasn't just being arrogant, but was actually trying to reach the home of the gods on Mount Olympus, to see the divine realm for himself, the ultimate act of mortal trespass. He is no longer just flying. He is ascending towards his own undoing, propelled by the very ingenuity that was meant to save him. The air around him grows warmer. A strange, sweet smell, the scent of melting honey, begins to fill his nostrils. He doesn't recognize it yet. It's the smell of his own impending doom. The heat intensifies. It's no longer the gentle warmth of a summer's day. It's a palpable, oppressive presence. Icarus, still climbing, finally starts to feel it. A trickle of sweat runs down his forehead. The air he breathes feels hot in his lungs. For the first time, a flicker of unease penetrates his joyful delirium. He glances at his wings and sees something that makes his heart stutter. A single, small, downy feather, its base dark with melted wax, detaches itself and flutters away, tumbling end over end into the vast emptiness below. It looks like a single, fluffy snowflake, a harbinger of the fall to come. He dismisses it. It's just one feather. The wings are huge, a marvel of engineering. What's one tiny feather? He gives his arms a powerful stroke to reassure himself, to push higher still. But the stroke feels ... wrong. A little looser, a little less solid. Another feather breaks free, then another. They drift away from him like sad, scattered memories of his flight. The sweet smell of honey and beeswax is stronger now, and he finally understands. His father's warning crashes into his mind with the force of a physical blow. The sun's heat will be your enemy. The wax will soften and melt. Panic, cold and sharp, replaces his hubris. He stops climbing. He tries to level out, to descend back towards the safe, boring middle path where his father is. But it's too late. The delicate architecture of his wings is failing. The wax, the crucial adhesive holding his freedom together, is turning to liquid gold under the relentless gaze of Helios. The feathers are coming off in clumps now. The larger, primary quills he had sorted so carefully on the tower floor begin to slide from their stitched mold. The beautifully crafted surfaces that caught the wind are becoming ragged, gapped skeletons. His powerful, godlike strokes become frantic, clumsy flaps. He can feel the loss of lift with every desperate beat. The wings that had carried him to the heavens are disintegrating. The air, which had been his playground, is no longer supporting him. It has become a thin, unforgiving medium that offers no purchase. He is just a boy in the sky, flailing with two useless frames strapped to his arms. He looks down, and for the first time, he truly sees the height he has achieved. The world is terrifyingly far away. The sea is not a sparkling carpet anymore. It's a hard, indifferent surface waiting for him. He screams his father's name, a sound of pure terror and regret. Father, help me. But there is no help to be had. The sun keeps shining, the wax keeps melting, and Icarus begins to fall. In a particularly poignant, lesser-known detail from Ovid's account, as he falls, he sees the very feathers that have abandoned him floating gently on the water below. A soft, mocking welcome to his watery grave. Gravity, the fundamental law he so gleefully defied, reasserts its absolute authority. The embrace of the sun gives way to the pull of the earth, a final, fatal lesson in mortal limits. You hear it over the whistle of the wind in your own wings, a single, desperate cry that rips through the sky and straight into your heart. Father, it's not a shout of joy, it's a shriek of pure terror. You whip your head around, scanning the brilliant, empty blue, and then you see him, not above you, not soaring anymore. He's a frantic, tumbling shape, plummeting towards the sea. The wings, your magnificent creation, are just tattered frames, shedding their last feathers like dying leaves in autumn. Or your genius, or your careful calculations, and you can't invent a rewind button. A primal scream of denial tears from your own throat. You try to fly towards him, pushing your aging muscles to their absolute limit, beating your wings with a desperate fury. But you're too far. He's falling so fast. The distance between you is an impossible, ever-expanding chasm of empty air. You are the master craftsman, the man who built a prison for a monster, and then built wings to escape it. And in this moment, you are utterly, completely helpless. You can only watch as the sun you were trying to save becomes a small, dark speck against the vast, glittering sea. You watch him hit the water. There's a splash, a brief white disruption on the blue surface, and then nothing. The waves roll on as if nothing has happened. The sun keeps shining. The world doesn't even pause. The strength leaves your arms. Your own flight becomes a leaden, agonizing effort. The wings on your back no longer feel like instruments of freedom. They feel like a monument to your failure. They are the tools that led your son to his death. You begin to sob, a ragged, ugly sound, and you curse your own hands, curse your own clever mind. Cursed be my art, you whisper to the uncaring wind. That celebrated genius of yours has a 100% failure rate when it comes to keeping boys safe on high ledges. First, Perdix, now, Icarus. You descend, your graceful flight abandon, and begin to circle the area where he fell, your eyes scanning the waves. Your heart holds a sliver of impossible hope that you'll see him, that he'll be swimming, waiting for you. But all you find are the feathers, his feathers, the ones you so carefully stitched and waxed, now floating gently on the surface of the water, bobbing in the swell. A soft, mocking shroud on his watery grave. You land on a nearby island, your body racked with a grief so profound it feels like a physical illness. Eventually, the boy's body washes ashore. In a strange twist of fate, the great hero Heracles happens to be passing through the area and, recognizing the tragedy, helps you bury your son. This small act of kindness from a demigod is a bitter pill to swallow. As a final, heartbreaking tribute, you name the island Icaria, and the vast, indifferent sea that swallowed your son, the Icarian Sea. Scholars still argue whether your decision to continue your journey to Sicily was an act of pure survival instinct or a flight, fueled by a guilt so profound you could never bear to look at that stretch of water ever again. You take to the air one last time, your wings heavy with sorrow, a lonely figure flying a broken middle path towards a future that now feels as empty as the sky around you. You finally make it to Sicily, your journey, a blur of grief and exhaustion. The king there, Icarus, welcomes you, eager to have the famous Daedalus in his court. You build new marvels for him, a fortress, a steam bath, wonders of engineering, but the joy is gone. Your hands still know how to create, but your heart is a hollow echo. In a quiet, solemn act, you build a magnificent temple to the god Apollo, the father of the sun god Helios who melted your son's wings, and there, as a final offering, an admission of defeat, you hang up your own wings. You dedicate them to the god, a permanent monument to your greatest triumph and your most devastating failure. You will never fly again. The art that gave you freedom also took everything that mattered. Your genius has become your penance. The story, of course, doesn't quite end there. King Minos, never one to let go of a grudge, eventually hunted you down. A mainstream mythic fact often forgotten is that Minos traveled from city to city with a cunning test, a spiral seashell, and a thread, offering a great reward to anyone who could pass the thread through the shell. He knew only Daedalus could solve such a puzzle. When you, in your Sicilian hiding place, solved it by tying the thread to an ant and luring it through the shell with honey, Minos knew he had found you. But King Icarus, not wanting to lose his new prized inventor, had Minos martyred boiled alive in his bath by the king's daughters, using a plumbing invention you, of course, designed. Your cleverness saved you one last time, but it's a grim, ugly victory, soaked in blood and betrayal. And so the story settles into history, becoming more than just a tale of a boy who fell from the sky. It becomes a permanent warning, a cultural touchstone. Icarus becomes the eternal symbol for the fiery, beautiful, and catastrophic nature of unchecked ambition. His fall is a perfect illustration of hubris. The story isn't about not dreaming, but about knowing the limits. It's the ultimate lesson in finding that middle path, the balance between striving and overreaching. Scholars still argue whether the myth is fundamentally about the dangers of technology, a warning that our own inventions can lead to our destruction if we respect the natural order, or psychological story about the fraught relationship between a cautious father and an impetuous son. Over time, your own name, Daedalus, became a byword for any master craftsman, while Icarus became the poster child for glorious failure. It's a legacy with a bitter irony. An obscure tidbit for you. Centuries later, even the great philosopher Socrates would, according to Plato, playfully claim ancestry from you, to highlight his own skill in argument, showing how your identity as the ultimate inventor echoed through Greek culture. But for all the talk of genius, it is the image of the fall that endured. It's painted on vases, written into poems, and referenced in songs. A timeless reminder that our greatest strengths, when pushed too far, can become our most fatal weaknesses. The wings gave the gift of flight, but they couldn't give the wisdom to stay grounded. And so, the tale of the boy who flew too close to the sun gently fades, leaving behind the soft, rhythmic sound of waves lapping on the shores of the island that bears his name. The story's sharp edges of grief and terror soften into a timeless quiet whisper that drifts on the wind. A gentle but persistent reminder to temper our highest ambitions with humility, to respect the immense and powerful forces we cannot control. As the sun sets over the Icarian Sea, the water glitters like scattered gold, a final, beautiful, and melancholy memory of a fall that continues to teach us where the boundary lies between the earth and the sky.